sleep. Slept good. Slept fine. Um, Waking up's getting harder. It's colder. Bed is just so much nicer. I feel like a high school kid. Waking up, just like, oh no, I want to go back to sleep. But I am looking forward to my coffee after this, so it's all good. All right, today the title is You Should Be Scared of Your Demons. And I go back and forth on talking about this topic as to what is an effective method for getting people to recognize that their demons are worthy of fear, and that fear is the appropriate kind of motivator to put in the work. And I'd say I get a call once a week from a warrior who, in some form or fashion, is having to confront their demons and is without a clear method or a tried and true method for what to do about it. Typically, what happens when people confront their demons without any skill is some form of self-destructive shutdown. Whether it's, it typically involves some kind of extreme, maybe an extreme ingestion of something, an extreme kind of type of behavior. We see it in movies a lot, I think, where the main character fights their demons with, huge amounts of alcohol. That's pretty, we see that a lot. Violence is often associated with demons, but you never really see or hear what the main character is thinking at the bottom of a bottle, or thinking, doing that next line of coke, or thinking with doing some kind of drugs. You never really see or hear per se what's going on inside that person's head. And it's not just their head; it's more inside their brain. So their mind, the demon shows up in your mind, your brain, and your heart. And the way it shows up is this kind of sweet, soft, inviting kind of sound. And I'm not talking, your demon is not yourself, is not being critical of yourself. Your demon isn't, you're ugly, you're fat, you're dumb, you're worthless, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not badass enough. That's not your demon. Your demon is, here's how you fix it. It's going to be okay, just trust me. This is fine, this is fine, this isn't your fault, this is their fault. Your demon is subtle. Your demon is not, you're a fucking loser, da 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 da. That's not the demon. And so what you have to be aware of is that it's not going to show up as this kind of announced threat. It's going to show up as a savior. That's the part about the demon that's so difficult, is that it's not this scary thing. How it manifests is terrifying, but what it is not. It's soft. It's sneaky. It's subtle. It's enthusiastic about being kind of in your focus, and so it shows up like that as a kind of as the story that will fix it. And then in the brain, right? So when I say brain, I mean kind of the whole system that gives the human experience life. So your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, your senses, all those things are part of what I'm talking about. And so the way it shows up there is as a, I mean, it varies as a dramatic kind of anxiety provoking moment. So like super sharp sensation in the chest space, trembling, you know, over the top depression or over the top anger. It can go in different directions. It can also show up in kind of like a blank out moment where you go from your kind of typical kind of regular self to just this kind of like quiet viciousness, kind of like this assassin kind of thing. I've heard some warriors describe being just calm, and then something will trigger them, and they'll just move into this kind of like violent. It's like they surrender to massive violence, and it just kind of takes over. Another demons I've heard from are, you know, blame. These are the people that need to be stopped, and I will stop them. Or this is the system that's screwing me, and I need to stop this system. So these are just examples. My demon shows up as suicidal ideation. Just this. It's a very kind of a soothing, kind of like snake in the grass. Like, hey, I can fix this for you. We can fix this pretty quickly. Come on. You know how to do it. You know what you need. You know where what you need is. Just come on. That's how my demon shows up. It also shows up in rage and anger, where there's this. I find brutal violence delicious. If I imagine brutal violence, I feel a lift. I feel a kind of an excitement, an adrenaline kind of rush. But back to the point of you should be afraid of that is the absolute appropriate response. Why would you be afraid of your demon? You talk about being mindful and not being afraid, and et cetera, et cetera. Your demon is the place that is kind of outside your spectrum, right? It is the darkness that your light is penetrating. And the thing is that if you're riding the light of your goodwill, you really have nothing to worry about, because the light of your goodwill and the light of your being is penetrating the darkness. Beyond that penetration, the darkness itself is what holds or houses the demon. And so you have to look at that as a place that you can fall into, and the place that you absolutely don't want to fall into. You do not want to fall into this place, because if you fall into this place and it becomes kind of your standard, that's where things can really go awry. Because what happens when you fall in and you begin to identify with the kind of the brain, the heart, and the mind of darkness, then you develop the same kind of destructive patterns that you can develop as an alcoholic. You become reliant upon a external kind of source of activity or source of change in your being. You rely on that external source of being to be your identity. And when that happens, things can become really, really, really awful, largely because it doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in a larger context. And it's not like you're the only one that has a demon. And so when it operates in the larger context, you can get trapped inside of a relationship that's demonic. And I don't mean like cartoonish. I mean a relationships built with darkness are very, very rough. They're very rough. They're rough to identify. They're rough to interact with. They're rough to get out of. And then they're rough to recover from. So you really need to be thinking about your demon as something to be respectfully afraid of, so that you're motivated. You're motivated to train. Like the fear of death motivates people to train for war. The fear of your demon should motivate you to train in mindfulness. It should motivate you to armor down. And the reason why is because the more you fortify your goodwill with presence, attention, awareness, and open-heartedness, the less likely your demon will show up with any kind of force. It'll show up and you'll just kind of look at it and just like, that's a terrible idea. Wow, you're framing my death as some kind of positive when it would literally be the worst possible thing in the world and set back my family for generations. And you're framing this as a positive thing. Just take your own life. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You know, I know how to end this pain. I know how to end this suffering. No. So you need to be afraid of that. And I don't mean to like, scare you, but I really do. Like, what happens when we're in trauma, what happens when we're going through a pandemic, what happens when we're experiencing massive disruption to our routines, is that this monster that always exists is just waiting for your attention. It's just waiting. It cannot wait to have your energy. Just cannot wait. So what do you do about it? Okay, well, what you do about it is you cultivate the best version of yourself. Well, how do you cultivate the best version of yourself? By paying attention to the things that fill your heart and that open your heart. If you can fill your heart by opening your heart and filling it with the things that bring you the greatest amount of, it's not just joy. There's purpose, there's meaning, a sense of responsibility. If you can fill yourself with those things, one, life just takes on a quality of, oh, it's so good to be alive. Like, yes. Two, it's, oh, wow, I'm leaving a legacy here. Look at my family. Look at this thing I've created, or look at these people that I'm interacting with. It's so great. And also, you have the chance to be someone else's hero. That's just so much to be said for that. And then to be at the top of generations of people. Like, I can't wait till I'm 120, right? And I'm looking back and I'm interacting with all these different layers of my family. Like, just thinking about it makes my heart just go whoop. Like my daughters, I got 2 daughters, and hopefully they'll have kids. And then by the time I'm 120, if my daughters have kids, then the chances are that their daughters could, or their kids could have kids. So I could theoretically be alive and have great grandchildren to play with. Come on. Like, is there anything cooler than that? And along the way, there's all this other cool stuff to like live for. So, I mean, the fear should be fuel. It's not something to discourage you or make you fearful of being alive. It's just something that you have to be aware of. So, the fear of drowning means you need to learn how to swim, or you should wear a life jacket. I mean, that's the point I'm making here. So anyway, the question is, what do you do? Well, what you do is what the stanza 47, I think, talks about. And this stanza is really nice. There's several sentences and layers to it. So I'm going to read it, we'll do the training, and then I'll unpack it. But stanza 47 says, the way of the warrior is based on humanity, love, and sincerity. Okay, that's the way. The heart of martial valor is true bravery, wisdom, love, and friendship. Emphasis on the physical aspects of warriorship is futile, for the power of the body is always limited. The power of the body is always limited. That's a limitation that we often we front load our warrior training with physicality, which makes a lot of sense. We just don't backfill. We don't backfill it. I'll unpack that a little bit more after the training, but let's get started with the training. And let me just point this out if anyone's watching it hasn't seen or doesn't know how we do 4 bells or why we do 4 bells. So what this stanza says about the limits of the body means that if you're focusing on kind of the development of the body, you're focusing on an aspect of your being that has the least length of training potential. As you get older, you cannot keep training your body the way it could have been trained when you were young. So you're going to get diminishing returns the longer you train just for the body. It's just a fact of biology. The things that don't have limiting returns are the things that are associated with your awareness, what you pay attention to. So what you pay attention to is not your body. What you pay attention to is the most powerful thing that you're aware of, because what you pay attention to triggers all these things that take place not just inside of you but also around you. And as you cultivate those things to greater and greater degree, in the warrior context, you become a much wiser, skillful, precise warrior. But in the context of just a human being, you become a much more open-hearted human being. And a much more open-hearted human being means that you can do less and less and less, but actually get more and more and more, because your open-heartedness is fueling generations around you. And so, you don't have to lift that thing, because all the people that feed off of your open-heartedness and love you for your open-heartedness would be happy to do it. And the best part about having younger people in your life is that they'll bring their young energy into the moment, and you don't have to do that either. It's way smarter. like the whole isolated warrior Rambo, living by yourself, somewhere in isolation. Ugh. Come on, let's get over this idea. Anyway, so the 4 bells. The first bell is all about your attention to your senses. Now, it's many-fold, but what this does is it tames the mind. Okay, the mind is not the brain. The brain's kind of cumulative output is the mind. Okay, so that has to be tamed. You tame that with the brain. Your mind gets tamed with your brain. Your brain is the arbiter of your sensational experience. It's what gives life it's what gives life life. The cumulative output of the brain is this thing called mind. Mind is ego, okay? That is the sense of self. Your sense of self, your sense of separation has to be tamed, because if it's not tamed, it can think it's the arbiter of truth. That's a problem. You don't know truth. You know how to interact with things that may lend themselves to truth, but you don't know truth. You can't say this is truth. Your ego will say this is truth, but that's a mistake. So you need to tame that. You need to tame that. You tame that with your senses, okay? That's part of what mindfulness emphasizes. Well, part of why mindfulness emphasizes present tense awareness. That's bell 1. Bell 2 is the brain. Now, I say the brain, but when you do bell 2, I'll be talking a lot about the body. But what I mean is, what I'm doing is I'm giving you cues to pay attention to parts of your body. And what you're doing by paying attention to parts of your body is you're calming your internal environment. You're turning on your ability to perceive your internal environment, which is basically interacting with your nervous system, okay? And interacting with your nervous system and aligning your body sets you up to actually kind of influence your nervous system with bell 3, which is your breathing, okay? If bell 2 kind of gets you connected to your nervous system, which will often refer to as getting to the body. Bell 3 is all about what you do with what you find. Okay, so when you align your body, you're aligning your spine, you're aligning your nervous system, you're aligning everything to be in a kind of a calm, alert state, upright and alert. And you're doing that so that when you get into the breath work can influence how your calm internal state is resonating, like what wavelength. So if you're all, you're all ratcheted up, what can you do about it? Well, you can really make your exhales longer, and you start to ratchet down. You start to settle. Okay, that's breath. Now, you're doing all these things. You're getting your mind into the present moment. You're getting your body into a settled state. You're interacting with that settled state through your breath to get to bell 4. Okay, bell 4 is why we do it in general. And bell 4 speaks to the realities of this stanza. Bell 4 is open-heartedness. Open-heartedness is the thing that is the light that is penetrating the darkness. Open-heartedness is the death of the demon. To be open-hearted is to be in the presence of, engaged with, interacting with love. Period. Stop. Open-heartedness is interacting with love. Demons cannot handle love. Cannot. Your demon shrivels up and dies when love is present. Now, I said to be careful about the demon, and because the demon can mimic, and I know this sounds weird. It's like cartoonish, but it's not. The demon can mimic love. And love isn't a style of talking. Love isn't a tone of voice. Love can take on a style of talking and can take on a tone of voice, but it's not love because of those things. The demon knows how to do that. I know that sounds weird, but the demon will talk to you in a loving, supportive kind of way, but it's a farce. It's not real. It's fake. It's BS. It's a trick. It's a trap. That's why you have to be afraid of your demon. And you have to understand what real love is. You have to understand that. If you do not understand that, you're in for a much, much harder life than you have to live. So getting to open-heartedness on a regular basis, that's why we do this every day, getting to an open-hearted position on a regular basis is essential to identify what that feels like, what it looks like, what love really looks like, but also to fortify yourself with the practice and the skill to recognize when anything that could lead to a demon, kind of a demon experience, or lead to your demon is handled kind of quickly. You're aware of it, and you do what you have to do to kind of get back to that open-hearted space. So that's what we do. We do 4 bells. First bell, presence. Second bell, body. Third bell, breath. Fourth bell, heartedness, open-heartedness. So those are the 4 bells. So we'll get started right now. I'm sitting on a armor down meditation cushion. Wherever you're seated, just kind of cue yourself to comfort, what would make you more comfortable. Once you've established a little bit more comfort, we'll get into the training. So as the sound of the bell disappears, come into your situational awareness. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. If your eyes are open, I encourage you to look for light and shadow. There are always aspects of light and shadow that you're not aware of until you look. To just be curious. If you've noticed little aspects of light and shadow that you didn't notice before, feel free to shut your eyes down, either cast them down or close them. Sense of sound. What do you hear far away? What do you hear close in? Closer in still, sense of temperature or what your skin feels like. You might even be able to notice sense of touch of your clothing, the touch of your shorts or your pants or your shirt, kind of straps, elastic waistbands. Might be able to feel that. Come in closer still, inside the mouth, taste inside the mouth, and even noticing if there's any smell. Often I find that I have to go to the end of an inhale, and if I'm checking for smell, the smells of what are there are typically underneath mostly no smell. So as I breathe into my nose to smell for what's there, often I'll go 3/4 of the inhale before I even notice another smell. And the smell will be at the tail end of the inhale. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for smell. Excuse me. Let's go to bell 2. So bell 2, get to the body. It's called interoception. You have this ability to notice feeling inside your body. So the first place to feel kind of the way your body feels is how it feels sitting on whatever it's sitting on. So that's called noticing your ground. Without your ground, you can't do anything. Imagine being in space or being underwater and not having anything to push off of. Your body is only as kind of capable as it has a ground or some kind of leverage, something to push off of, sink into, etc., etc. So what's right beneath you is your ground, and then you move up, and the first place you go after you've come up from your ground is the region of your tailbone sit bones. So tailbone sit bones is at the base of your spine. It's also the region of the pelvis. So this kind of goes around. It's where your hips come in. It's where your genitals are. That's the first place that you want to put your attention, and just look for any kind of sensation down there. I mean, heck, when you're in an experience of intimacy, there's tons of sensation down there. But when you're just sitting, what do you feel? When you're going to the bathroom, there's tons of sensation. But when you're just sitting, what do you feel? What do you notice? From there, move up to your core. The core is the region right above that space, belly button, sides, lower back. And just kind of notice that. You want to also notice that you've got these two kind of muscles called the psoas muscles that exist on either side of your spine, that go from the back of your spine, kind of underneath your ribs, forward and down and connecting to your thighs, your inner thighs. So I've often thought of my core as like my six-pack muscles. I don't have a six-pack, but I do have those muscles. And so what I've often neglected is the awareness of these psoas muscles, because they can be tight and they can be held in as a kind of a sucking in. So if you notice that, see if you can release that. And when you release that region, you might be able to kind of lift into the heart space. Now don't lift the chest bone. You lift the heart space. It's like if you opened an umbrella, you wouldn't lift the front side of the umbrella. You would lift from the center, and the whole umbrella would lift. So lift from the center of your heart, whole heart space lifts. Drop shoulder blades. Drop shoulder blades, kind of pull shoulder blades back down and together. Open heart space. There's a lot more kind of awareness to be had in this main chunk of the body. So from your collarbone, shoulder blades down, just get more aligned and comfortable by 1 millimeter, by 1 degree or 1%, just a little bit. Then from there, move into the throat space. often include the jaw and the throat space. And from there, come to the top of the head. Get taller by 1 millimeter, take a breath. We're not going to focus on breath yet, but we're just going to use the breath to begin the kind of cascade effect of ease. So you're alert and upright, and as you exhale, let go of any muscle tension. Starting with the face. Any muscles in the face that are tense, soften. Any muscles in the eyes, soften. Soften the cheeks, mouth, chin, chest, belly, sit bones. Alert and relaxed. Let's move into bell 3. Max breath in. Notice what it feels like. And come to a baseline breath. Just a normal in and out. Let's go max breath. And release. Now think of your sides, side ribs in your imagination. Picture your sides expanding, and when you inhale, do that same thing. Picture your sides expanding. Feel the breath in the sides. Max out. Back to normal. Forward, backward, forward, backward. Feel the body push forward and the back push back on the breath. In and out. Up and down, up and down. Feel up and down as you breathe in and out. Picture it in your head. Your breath will follow. Omnidirectional, sides, front, back, up and down. Baseline breath for a minute. Keep coming back to the breath. If your attention wanders, good. Notice the wandering, bring it back to the breath. Do that for a minute. Fourth bell, open the heart. So what I like to do is sometimes put my hand on my heart. I put both hands on my heart just to kind of feel it. But here, just in the context of what we've been talking about, a demon, right? There's no gratitude for the demon. There's no, love for the demon. There's only gratitude for all the things that cultivate goodwill and light. So whatever feels appropriate for you to feel grateful for, I encourage you to do that. But I want to take it a little bit further, which is to the space of compassion. So a demon is a powerful force. It really is. But more powerful, and which will always be more powerful, is compassion. So a demon cannot contend with compassion. It crumbles. Really quite pathetic. The demon is just such a weak phenomena in reality. It's only strong when we have become weak. But if we are fortified with goodwill and put that goodwill to use in the context of compassion, that light just cuts through that darkness, and it's just like all right, demon, just get out of the way. It just cannot contend. So I encourage you to, for just a moment, be aware of what it has felt like, or what it feels like to just be in a dark, dark place. And then in your mind, picture those out in the world who might be in that place, just really struggling, really suffering, really just in deep darkness. And then imagine your goodwill. It could be like a beam of light. It could be radiating. It could be like an email. I don't care what you think of it as. But send it out. Send your goodwill out. In your imagination, it's good enough. Send it out as, a bolt of lightning through the darkness that meets the heart of those suffering and gives them a tiny spark, a tiny lift. Whatever it is, just put your goodwill out there. And spend about 20 seconds doing that. So finish up with a good job to yourself, just in your own head. You could say it out loud, like, good job, way to practice. That's some good stuff right there. Or you could just say, good job, good job. Say, good job, body, good job, heart. And then take 2 breaths, and on your second exhale, come back on screen. Now, back on screen, let's go back over this, and then we'll be done. Get you a cup of coffee. All right, the way of the warrior is based off of humility, love, sincerity. Okay, so the way. All right, so the way is the story. Okay, the identity, the past, future. It's really the realm of the mind, right? So when you think about what it is to be a warrior, you want to add a story. If you were to tell a story, right, which is mental, it's past, future, then you can use these words: humanity, love, sincerity. All right, so your defender, the warrior's the defender. There's love, which is the good, the thing that gives us the greatest strength, and then sincerity, right? So the thing about being a warrior is that if you see yourself as some kind of lone wolf, you miss out on all the strength that comes from love and sincerity. The thing about sincerity is that when people trust you and people believe in you, they give you their goodwill. And your goodwill and their goodwill combined, with your powers combined, I am even stronger. Like, that's not bullshit. Like, that's for real. the heart of martial valor, right? So this is when you go into, right? So you cultivate, the way of the warrior is to cultivate humanity, sincerity, and love. That's what you're fighting for. When you go into battle, the things you take with you, with your inside of your heart, are bravery, wisdom, love, and friendship, right? So that's pretty obvious. Now, this is the part that's really significant, and this is the part that we undervalue as a society, which is emphasis on the physical aspects of warriorship is futile, for the power of the body is always limited. I mean, the unstainable nature of so much of our warrior practices is frustrating because they're talked about as sustainable. They're not sustainable. You cannot sustain CrossFit for the vast majority of your life. The returns are diminishing every single time. So what you want to practice is something that doesn't have diminishing returns. You want to practice something that has exponential growth associated to it. Like every layer that you achieve when you practice mindfulness can be maintained up to the moment of death and arguably beyond. It's your attention. Your attention doesn't need your body. Your body can be something you attend to, but your attention doesn't need your body. So your attention is what you want to be cultivating above all else. Your attention is what gives everything else its relevance. To put all the attention on the body is to miss the opportunity to study attention. So say you studied the body for 40 years and then the body starts to break down and then you start studying attention, right? See what I'm saying? So you've missed 40 years of studying attention, which would have just developed in unbelievable ways by putting all the emphasis on the body. So now you're getting to the attention at 60, right? You're 60 years old and you haven't had 40 years to study attention prior to. So don't make that mistake. So anyway, you have to fear your demon. Fear it. Fear it. Train with me every day, you know. Seriously. You see it in people around you. You see it how all your friends, family, community members, online, you see all these people that are breaking apart. You see all these ideas that are just ridiculous. All this stuff out there that's just nuts. All people out there, increasing levels in violence, increasing numbers of suicide, all that kind of stuff. You better be scared of your demon if you know what's good for you. So, anyway, what a topic. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, look at all these nice people. Oh, good, 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 good. Yes. I'm getting more people that are interacting with this stuff. I'm very happy about that. All right, everybody. Take care. See you tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to say hi to, did I say hi to Pam? Pam and Freemasons are doing it. Okay. Pam and Megan. What's up, y'all? And Victoria Rodriguez. Hello. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow.